Hello everyone, welcome to Dr. Prim's Thought Space. I am Primrose Jikomborero Joy Lindima and I create content about research, career development and wellness. Today's video is about career development as I will be talking about how I think we can best stand out in the current job market. While these insights are mainly based on my personal experiences, I also jotted down points that I got from speaking to other professionals. So I hope that this is one that resonates with some of you. And if it does and you feel compelled to share from your personal experiences, please consider doing so in the comments section below. For those of you that are disgruntled or wondering where to start, I hope that this is one that helps you ease into the process and also start to strategize how best to make it in the current job market. Of course, this discussion may be limited because of the limited experiences that I'll be tapping into, but I do believe that it is a great conversation starter, also a great starting point for those of you that want to map out their career strategies. Okay, so I jotted down about 5 key points to guide today's discussion, mainly branding, visibility, who you know, what they know about you, and whether they can vouch for you. Branding. So I'm speaking here mainly to people that are starting out. I did not know this, but in hindsight, I've just realized that who I presented myself as was part of how I was branding myself for the job market. So, strategically, by pursuing studies in particular fields of interest, being international relations, public policy, as well as gender studies, that was part of my branding because I wanted to get into the world of international relations, to work with international organizations, to work for government, and so forth. So, I obviously needed to attain qualifications that are recognized within that field. So you'll see that I, from time to time, progressed, being part of a debate society in high school, forming the first Model United Nations at my high school in Lesotho, progressing to the Model United Nations at the University of Cape Town, not only as a delegate, but I ended up becoming an academic director of the conference that we held for South African universities in 2014. And I was also part of the university's discrimination and harassment office, which helped me to become a practitioner in terms of addressing gender justice challenges on campus. And so, in terms of speaking to my future career trajectory, I was doing well to build my brand. Your CV, it does articulate what your brand is to a large extent. So think about the opportunities that you tap into deeply in terms of how they portray you towards the trajectory that you want to pursue. So the qualifications, I've already spoken about them. Some of the key elements that have become part of my brand are my digital footprint. How I've always portrayed myself, I think mainly I started with Facebook, where I used to post a lot about the work that I was participating in on campus. Later on, of course, I've jumped onto LinkedIn because that's where everyone is showcasing who they are and what they do. And I think it's important to brand yourself online nowadays because I have indeed gotten opportunities because of that particular brand that people perceive when they look at my content online. So, of course, that will also bring to the fore how you dress, how you speak, what you speak about, and how you speak about it. So, people get, a free ticket to your work just by going online and checking what it is that you speak about, whether by writing or as well as in speaking engagements. And I think when it comes to speaking, you can showcase insights from, videos or snippets from platforms where you have presented. You can also maybe start a YouTube channel. I think that is important. Although I've not gone the extra mile of portraying the international relations self, that side of me, I think through my channel, I do think that's something that I'm going to start doing from this year. So it's also important to have a digital footprint because nowadays, particularly in the post-COVID world, people quickly go online and search who is this person. And when they search for you, you want relevant information to come out. So, for example, when you look up Primrose Z.J. Lima, you'll see insights from LinkedIn, you'll see insights from my website. Those will obviously break down my CV and my publications. You will see insights from Google Scholar, which is also a site where I've uploaded information about what I've written on, whether book chapters and journal articles as well. You'll also see that my digital footprint includes articles that were written by me or about me, for example, by Oxfam South Africa when I was a feminist fellow there. And, you also see insights from Stellenbosch University when they posted about me being a postdoctoral research fellow there. The University of Cape Town also did the same when I did a postdoctoral research fellowship there. So I think be intentional about capturing the work that you do, and also about being captured by institutions or organizations that are reputable, so that, of course, people see that you are indeed a credible individual. All right. So if you've not started yet, find somewhere to start. And for me, starting has to be extremely intentional. You have to seem like a person who is passionate about what they do. I am personally passionate, so I've never had a problem articulating myself. So that requires you to have credible outputs. Have you written intellectual articles? Have you written books, book chapters, journal articles? Have you posted about successful initiatives that you've been part of or spearheaded? And also, are you updating us about your milestones? There's a milestone I've spoken about on this channel that I'm yet to really post about on LinkedIn, but I do think that it's high time that I start speaking about how I left academia in 2025, but also then came back to academia in 2026, so that I can start putting myself out there as an individual who is available to examine theses and dissertations, as an academic who is available to attend platforms on international relations as well as gender justice. Because as long as people don't know about you, then you might not get access to particular information, insights, and opportunities. So that's it for branding, which ties into visibility. So with visibility, you must be seen, you must be heard, and you must be well received. Well received, another word I think for well received is you must be liked, because oftentimes you see that people want to work with people they like or people that they think will be great as part of their teams. So this, you need to work hard on it based on your particular field of study. I can't give specific advice to anyone unless, of course, if you book a consultation with me and then we can talk further about it. So I think for me, right, visibility is something that I had to do because I did not know people in spaces. So my strategy was literally elementary. The first time that I was not shortlisted for an opportunity, it was for tutoring at the University of Cape Town in 2015 when I was doing my honors degree. And I was wondering why I didn't get shortlisted, because I had the best grades for this particular course that I wanted to now tutor. And I had been a mentor in the faculty, a mentor in residence, giving students academic support, And I had a distinction in the gender studies major for my undergraduate studies. So I had no idea why the gender studies department did not want to take me on as a tutor. So here what I'd done is, my brand was on point, but I was not visible in person. Grades are just statistics and they are tied to student numbers, and lecturers will not always remember everyone. Worse off if you're someone who has never booked a consultation with a lecturer, or if you're someone who doesn't participate in lectures, making sure that the lecturers know your name. So I went to the course convener, greeted her, presented my case, and said, you know what? I really wanted to be a tutor in this department for this particular course, which I really loved and I'm great at, because I am the definition of women, peace, and security when it comes to being, a young intellectual. And I presented my case as the best student on that course in a particular year. She queried my claim and I had to show her my transcript. And for whatever reason, I was asked to join the tutoring crew. Now, I then came to find out later on that teaching assistants are recruited by lecturers or course conveners. And then the teaching assistants hunt for people they are familiar with or people that they know. The people that they know will also have been gender studies majors, who also have been students that had good grades or even great grades, equal to my own. But that teaching assistant never knew me for whatever reason. They were never my tutor, and they were teaching assistant during a time when I was one of 300 or 400 students. So I was just a statistic that they didn't know. And then they came to know me, but I did not go to them. I literally went to the course convener. I didn't know if there were any protocols to be observed and whatnot. I was just an eager, honest student who was struggling and wondering. So sometimes do check up on those applications where you don't get shortlisted or where you go for an interview and then people don't get back to you. Even if they give you negative feedback, again, at least you would have presented yourself to them. They can put a face to the CV, and you might never know what will happen in the future. Another example is when I was unemployed after my master's degree, I sent out applications to so many non governmental organizations because I wanted to start off there. Now, when I was doing my applications, there was one particular organization I resonated with what was on the advert. But the challenge is that they wanted someone who was Johannesburg based. And at the time, I was based in Eswatini. That did not deter me from applying. I've shared about the story so many times. They were willing in the year 2017 to interview me via Skype. My Skype failed and they decided they could do the panel interview by passing around a mobile phone from wherever they were, calling me at the time when I was in Eswatini. And when I did get the job after a written submission and the oral interview, they were then willing to, pay for my travel to and from South Africa when I was needed in South Africa at the time. So if I had not tried, if I had not gone out of my way to say, listen, I am the person you need, but I'm not in Johannesburg. Please consider me. That would not have happened. And then when it comes to being in Eswatini, I had to speak to people from organizations. I had to go to the organizations where I'd sent emails to be like, I have sent an email to you, but you never responded. Some of them simply said, you know what, we don't have any openings. And for the one organization that I ended up volunteering for, which is Caritas, it is, of course, run by the Catholic Church. I spoke to the lady who was heading a particular program, told her about what I had studied, my intentions in terms of being part of her organization if I became an intern, what I had to offer, particularly as a researcher. And she was enthusiastic and said, you know what, if you want to be an intern, you can come through and start next Monday. So follow up on those emails. Sometimes if people are not headhunting, you go hunting, go to those premises. You never know what will come out of that process. And then another example that I quickly jotted down is also putting myself out there, particularly on LinkedIn as well as YouTube, has earned me speaking engagements, some of them paid. But even if they were not paid, I feel that my visibility grows to audiences in Netherlands. It grew to audiences in Germany. It grew to audiences in the United States of America and the United Kingdom because I was being invited to spaces in those particular countries, most of them virtually, but some of them physically, all expenses paid. So visibility does matter. So in terms of you crafting a strategy, think about, okay, for me to be visible, to put out my brand out there, what are the online strategies I'm going to draft and pursue? What are the in-person strategies I am going to adopt and pursue? I've given you examples from my personal experience, so I hope that these have been insightful enough. If not, do think deeper and invest in putting yourself out there. You cannot be shy about this because if they don't know about you, it's not their fault. And sometimes recruiters, future employers are swamped with applications, and sometimes they just bypass your application for whatever reason. And maybe it might just be sifted by someone at another level who has their own sifting criteria that does not include you. And nowadays, I think also AI might actually just make that mistake because there are recruiters who are over relying on artificial intelligence. Okay. So I think that's where I'll stop in terms of branding and visibility. So the next segment of this video is based on the 3 key points. Who do you know? What do they know about you? And can they vouch for you? So, who do you know? I don't want to simplify it, to the popular opinion that oftentimes people just get jobs because they know people in spaces or because they know people who know people. In as much as getting into some space may be mostly linked to already knowing people that are in those spaces, I don't think that those of us that may not necessarily know people in particular spaces are completely out and in the dark. All right. So I do think that who you know can expand to, for example, being familiar with people that have access to information, adverts, and referrals. And I think for me, the digital space is very helpful in this regard. You can't be in all WhatsApp groups that are relevant to your field or sector. You can't be in all WhatsApp groups where jobs that you qualify for will be advertised. However, being on specific platforms does help. So, in order for me to apply for my postdoctoral research fellowship at Stellenbosch University, I came across that particular advert on someone's shared post, not on Stellenbosch University's pages, even though I probably followed them at the time. So be intentional about the people that you connect with on social media platforms. Ideally, they should be in your sector, but also do go beyond that because you never know what your gateway to pivoting will be. And also, it's important to be friends with or even be, connected to people that are in groups where opportunities are shared. And those people should be people that you share opportunities with, and they should also share opportunities with you. In my life, almost every opportunity I've attained was because someone shared it with me. And I've also heard of people getting opportunities because I share those opportunities with them. So I have been more successful earning opportunities through what people have shared with me than I have been applying for stuff that I come across personally or that I've applied for because I went to particular websites. So you're not an island. Connect with people and also connect with people that we share opportunities with you. I am a lecturer at Africa University today because someone saw on a particular WhatsApp group that particular advert and forwarded it to me. I would have never known about that particular opportunity. So it is important to know people that have access to information. As you can see, this had nothing to do with knowing anyone in a particular organization. And because I've been building my brand and my CV is adequate for particular opportunities, I did get those opportunities that I saw because someone shared them in public or because someone shared them with me by forwarding what they'd seen elsewhere. And I think that it's also important as you go through university, for example, to be part of societies and clubs with like minded people who also share opportunities with each other. Sometimes opportunities are actually shared by word of mouth. You would otherwise never hear about them if you're never part of clubs and societies. So make sure that you're intentional about the spaces that you go to. I also think this brings to the fore something I've been thinking about a lot in terms of finding a new church. So I recently relocated, and relocation often comes with finding a new space to worship. And I have seen that other people have excelled in life because of where they worship and who they worship with, and how they obviously position themselves in those particular spaces. So I think it's also something that one can explore. I don't have insights on this because I've never explored it myself, but I do know for sure that some people have had access to particular opportunities because of the places of worship that they go to. This works also, for example, if you're into business, let's say you do events, photography. If people know about your business and you advertise or showcase your skills within a particular space, then more people will get to know about you. I recently joined a hiking and climbing group, for example, in Zimbabwe, and every Monday they give people an opportunity to share about, what they do in life or the businesses that they undertake. And that's a gateway to gaining more opportunities. So I think that it's important to really, really, really sit down with yourself and think, who do I know? And how can they help me as I navigate the world of career development? And also, I think it's important to make sure that people know your work. I spoke, for example, about people knowing what you do in terms of businesses, but even in terms of what did you study? And what else do you do? Because some people can just know you. There's a Primrose Beamer. Oh, yes, she went to the University of Cape Town. Apparently, she has a PhD. Full stop. A PhD in what? And what is she doing with that PhD? What has she published? What does she speak about? What initiatives has she been part of? What projects has she run? So you need to go back to the branding and visibility here. People can know you, but what do they know about you? And what they know about you has to be based on the brand that you've been building and making it visible to them. So be intentional also about making sure that people that get to know about you get to know more about the work you've done. You are responsible for packaging the work you do to them. You know, how best can I speak to people at church about the work that I do? How best can I speak to people in a hiking club about the work that I do? How best can I speak to people, who are part of a WhatsApp group of academics or humanities graduates about the work that I do, so that when they see relevant adverts, they can post or, forward them to me. So you've got a lot of work to do just beyond drafting CVs and cover letters and preparing for interviews. All right. So in terms of, yes, people, yeah, you know people, right? Yeah. And then they know about what you do or what you've done, but can they vouch for you? This is a big one. Now, it starts, for example, with spaces like having supervisors. I definitely advocate for people to study all the way up to masters if you're doing a humanities major. This is, of course, different for people in other fields and can also even be different within the humanities. I don't think you need to go all the way for masters for everyone, right? For me, it just made sense because I wanted to be working in spaces that are research oriented, and masters was the stage I realized was going to give me that unique edge in my field of study. So, can they vouch for you? The people that you know, what kind of influence do they have besides having access to information about opportunities? What leverage do they have in particular rooms or particular industries and spaces that can help you if they know you, if they know about you and the work that you've done, and if they like you and want to endorse you for opportunities? So this starts with, for example, references. Not everyone you've worked with or worked for is an ideal reference, and I think you have to gather the intelligence on that so that you don't put down a referee who is going to shoot you down, undermine your capacity, or not sell you well when the next potential employer reaches out to them for a reference. So I think as you work in organizations, especially if you become a volunteer, right? Let's say you don't get an opportunity, you end up volunteering in a particular organization. Make sure that you build a good reputation whilst working there so that people can vouch for you and say that you worked well with them and give examples of how you worked well with them. And this, of course, also even applies to your supervisors. Don't be a stranger to your supervisor. You never know the power they wield in terms of influencing your future opportunities. And sometimes it will simply be because of their name, right? People will just be like, oh, so you were supervised by so and so. Before they even reach out to so and so for your reference, they already like you because they associate that particular name with greatness. So I think it's also important to be strategic about the supervisors you pick, apart from, of course, picking people that supervise on topics that are in your area of interest. Try and figure out what people that have been supervised by that particular person are now doing. Sometimes your next employer is literally your current supervisor's former supervisee, your current supervisor's, former colleague, former classmate, and the examples are multiple, right? So make sure that your academic supervisors or advisors, the people that you work with, or the people that supervise you when you intern or volunteer or get your first few jobs, that these are people that you build relationships with. And building relationships doesn't mean you have to be their pet or try to be their close favorite in ways that are not professional. It is mainly about the work that you do and how best you do it. So much that other people in the organization even vouch for you in the event that that particular person cannot write a reference for you. So I think for me, it's important for the people that you identify as potential referees to be people that you talk to from time to time. Talk to them about topics, in your area of study. I think for me, for example, with international relations and gender justice, it can be so easy because the topics are many, they pop up every day, they're in the news. So to constantly engage with them as an intellectual, maybe not an intellectual equal, but just as an intellectual, I think it really does help to continue to build rapport with those particular people. The people that you meet at church and other spaces, listen to what they say when they're talking to you. Ensure that you're someone who meaningfully engages with others. When there is an opportunity for you to shine and share about the work that you do, do so gracefully and with confidence so that they remember you, so that these memories etched in their mind when they think about politics, international relations, or gender, in a way that when someone reaches out to them and says, I'm looking for someone who can do X, Y, and Z, they can quickly say, oh, I know Primrose. I'm saying this because the one time that I pivoted from academia into the world of work in a particular sector, there's so many people who are like, why isn't Primrose working for you? If you're doing work on this particular subject, why isn't Primrose in your organization? And the organization lead ended up, inviting me for a conversation and talking about what I could do for them or with them. And I got a job. I ended up not being jobless after all. So I think it's really important to just navigate this world with intention. Don't get tired. I have had moments when I got tired, and I feel like the factors that I've mentioned here were helpful. A case in point, last year, looking for jobs is something that gave me burnout. And there were people that would share opportunities with me from time to time because I used to share a lot of opportunities with them. And the one opportunity I decided to apply for last year in August is the opportunity I ended up interviewing for this year in January and starting a new job in February. Of course, I do have major regrets, and I was thinking, why wasn't applying for opportunities last year? But I was disgruntled, as some of you may be right now. So I do think that it's important to keep pushing. And in as much as I was disgruntled, I continue, being in spaces, going to church, being part of the youth, preaching, sharing messages, and also showing up in particular spaces by supporting people who were running their own initiatives with regards to youth peace and security, with regards to gender justice, and the politics of African states. So in as much as I wasn't doing much in terms of looking for a new opportunity, I did stay grounded and being visible in spaces that mattered the most. And I think that is important for all of us to do. I hope that this is one that you enjoyed listening to, one that has empowered some of you, one that you'll be able to share widely. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I will see you in the next video, or likely in the month of June 2026. It is a goodbye for now.